Peace will fill the world when we finally understand that only from within can it be spread throughout the land. Every single person living peace in what we do, only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.
Good morning, friends. I'm Leona Evans, minister at Unity of San Luis Obispo, an inclusive, progressive, spiritual community affirming the good in all life. Welcome to our Sunday morning live stream. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm thrilled that you chose to join us this morning. So let's prepare for our time together. Let's take a deep breath and relax. Let's find a comfortable position for ourselves, because what we want to do is relax our body, open our minds and hearts, be open, receptive, and responsive to changing your life for the better. Somewhere in the course of today's service, you will feel a heart connection with your higher self, and you will realize that you were born in love, and your purpose is to express your divine potential. Take another deep breath and relax again. Make sure that you're physically comfortable. Feel the muscles in your neck relaxing. Feel yourself getting more and more focused. And let us affirm Unity's foundation statement together. I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. Once again, I am now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. And so let us begin our service this morning, as always, with a joy song performed by Matthew J. Evans.
Good morning. Today we're going to sing It's in Every One of Us. Please sing along with the lyrics on the bottom of the screen. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. It's in every one of us to be wise. Find your heart, open up both your eyes. We can all know everything without ever knowing why. It's in every one of us by and by. Have a great morning, everybody.
Thank you so much, Matthew. That was just great. Well, in our Unity teachings, we emphasize seeing our lives and our world from a metaphysical or symbolic perspective. This means that when we read a book, watch a film, hear a fairy tale, or even watch the news, we understand that there's a type of symbolism that underlies the facts that are being presented at any given time. As we interpret the facts of a story or situation, we have the opportunity to discover deeper meanings than the facts would allow us to discern. And this is how we view the Bible. We read the stories as they are, and then using the universal archetypes, we interpret the stories to give greater and more personal meaning to them. In this way, the Bible serves as a timeless tool with information and inspiration to continue to support and guide us as we move through the ongoing process of our spiritual unfoldment. So today, I want to share with you a creative process which comes from the Bible that can be of immeasurable help to us as we get in touch with how to bring prosperous ideas from divine mind into manifestation. Now, last week, even though we had a Facebook live stream, those of us in the San Luis Obispo area met in person for the first time in a long time. And my goal was to give this lesson of the 7 stages of creation found in the first chapter of Genesis, as seen from a metaphysical perspective. However, what ended up happening was that we were so glad to see each other that we ended up chatting for so long that I only had 10 minutes to give my message, which is less than half the time that the message usually takes on a Sunday. I sort of panicked a little because I had way too much material to pull that one off. So I started talking quickly, hoping I could get it all in. According to Matthew, I just kept talking faster and faster and faster. And finally, I realized that I was never going to get all the material in, and I just had to skim the top layer of the 7-step creative process and just finish it, which I did. So today, I want to take the same idea and give it the full treatment. Not to repeat myself to those who were there last week, but to add dimension and inspiration to these rich and important ideas. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, saw a powerful relationship between the first chapter of Genesis and a 7-step manifestation process that we can experience easily in our own lives when we pay attention to the order. Now, the number 7 is a number of completion in the manifest realm, just as the number 3, or the trinity of mind, idea, and manifestation, or spirit, soul, and body, represents wholeness within us. So, in the Bible, the number 7 is seen on numerous occasions to represent completeness or divine perfection made manifest. For example, we see the command for animals to be at least 7 days old before being used for sacrifice. The command for lepers to bathe in the Jordan River 7 times in order to have a complete cleansing. The command for Joshua to march around Jericho for 7 days, and on the 7th day to make 7 circuits, and for 7 priests to blow 7 trumpets outside the city walls. Now, in these examples, 7 signifies a fulfillment of a divine command. Do you think the writers made their point about the number 7? I think they did. So let's take a moment and listen to some wonderful music from Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans, and then we'll come back and talk about this 7-step creative process and a little more about a Sufi understanding of the number 7.
Here is a wonderful song from the 1970 movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Gene Wilder sang the song in the movie. It's called Pure Imagination, and it's very, very, very nice. Leslie Bricusse and Anthony Newley wonderful team did the music and lyrics. It starts off like this. Hold your breath, make a wish, count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. Wanna change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to, do it. Wanna change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. Pure Imagination. Leslie Brickus and Anthony Newley. Newley was in the film too, I think. No, I'm thinking of another one. Talk to the Animals. Dr. Dolittle. No. Okay. Pure Imagination. That was kind of fun.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. Love doing the little excerpts of the movie score.
Well, I have a good time.
Thank you so much, Brett Mitchell and Matthew J. Evans, for that beautiful rendition of one of my very favorite songs. You and I, Brett, both love the team of Leslie Brickus and Anthony Newley, and I am always so inspired by their work. Your rendition, both of you, was absolutely splendid. It's a beautiful song, and I'm always inspired by it, so thank you. Well, we've been talking about the number 7. We've also alluded to a 7-step creative process based on the first chapter of Genesis that co-founder of Unity, Charles Fillmore, saw was an analogy for the creative process that takes place within us whenever we want to bring an idea from divine mind into manifestation. But first, let me tell you about one of my favorite, extremely eccentric philosopher and spiritual teacher, George Gurdjieff. He practiced in the early to mid 20th century, and he was an eclectic master who had incredible insights about self-knowledge, and also understood the nature of archetypes and how the inner life of each of us mirrors those archetypes and can be seen as teaching tools for us to be able to absorb the understanding that everything in this world is connected, and we can learn from every process that we see around us. At any rate, Gurdjieff came across the law of 7 during his travels in Asia. He saw the law of 7 as in the basic music scale as a fundamental law of the universe, governing the progression of the vibrations which underlie all reality. Now, the key insight is that even though we might think that these vibrations change uniformly, there are places in the scale where the energy speeds up or slows down. Now, keep in mind that this is not just an abstract principle. It's vital to our own self-development and an important concept to observe within ourselves. Now, as you can see in this image, the structure of the octave has 2 semitone intervals, one between the mi and fa, and the next between the ti or si and do. Now, Gurdjieff states that these semitone intervals are where a, quote, retardation of vibration takes place. This means that instead of going in a straight line, the process veers off in 2 distinct places, first near the beginning and then near the end. Gurdjieff said that this law of 7 shows why straight lines never occur in our activities, why when we begin to do one thing, we constantly end up doing something different. The problem is not that we do that, but it's that we don't notice it, and we think we're doing the same thing we set out to do. Now, a very basic example would be for a person to feel passionate about writing a novel, sits down to write with great hopes and high enthusiasm, only to find themselves a short while later looking at cat pictures on the internet. So, although this deviation is part of the 7 stages of creation, not the cat pictures, but the turning away from our goal unconsciously, unless we are conscious of what's happening, it will be a lot harder to get back to our original mindset because the energy is going in a different direction. And it's really difficult to get our momentum going again. This is one reason why so many people quit. You know, we talk about this a lot around the first of the year when we make resolutions, and I tell you, please remember to notice when the passion starts leaving you because you have inadvertently turned off the path, and it's much harder to get back to where you were then it is to start over with something else. So a lot of people do quit. This is one of the reasons that our manifestations don't take place the way we expect them to or think they really should. And we end up never really living our dreams. So if we are conscious of this pattern, we can be much more aware of how to handle these energy shifts and become more non-resistant to them. In this way, we become able to spot the tendency to veer off before it actually happens. And this is one reason, I think, why they invented recess. I can't be sure about this, but it would seem to me that understanding the law of seven in terms of the scale would help us understand that we should take a voluntary break in what we're doing before the break comes without our permission. You see what I'm saying? If we took a voluntary break, and of course, many psychologists tell us that we need to do this when we're working at long stretches on a process. I remember back in Unity School in Unity Village, Missouri, near Kansas City, at 11 o'clock every morning, there would be 3 carillon bells, and everyone would stop what they were doing, all of the employees, and classes. The one class would be finished, and then there would be a 10-minute break before the next class started. So during that break time, the carillon bells would ring, everyone would stop doing what they were doing and turn and look out the window, or turn to look at something else that they hadn't been looking at before. And Mr. Fillmore, again, co-founder of Unity, he was on tape speaking the words of the Lord's Prayer. And during that time, there was complete silence. And when the prayer was over, all the employees quietly went back to their work. And one time I asked one of the receptionists why she got up and went to the window every time Mr. Fillmore recited the Lord's Prayer. And she said, to get a change in perspective. This is what they were told to do, to just take a break, a very short but powerful Sabbath. And in this way, they could just see something from a different perspective and maybe just take that voluntary shift in consciousness rather than, as I said, not giving permission for that shift to take place. So, bottom line, when we don't give permission, when we're working on a task, when we inadvertently realize that we've been spacing out or that our train pulled out, so to speak, and we try to go back to what we were doing and thought we were still doing, it's really harder. And so if we find ourselves maybe zoning out a little bit, let's just get up and take a voluntary break and understand that we want to align ourselves with our original idea, our original ambition, and move back to that. Just realize that we are moving up the scale. And I don't want to leave out this important point, because the second break comes between the second to the last and the last note. Because that happens, this is why we often veer off just before our project is finished. How many times have you heard of the student who says, if you say, oh, did you graduate from college? It's like, well, almost. All I have to do is write my dissertation. Really? Well, when did you start it? About 10 years ago. I just never got around to completing it. This can happen too. So if we start to either lose interest or go brain dead before the end of the assignment, what we really need to do is take a deep breath, understand that this is part of a universal creative process, not to give into it, but to understand that whatever it is, energy-wise, that we have to gather together before we get that diploma, we need to do that. We just need to recognize that finishing it is going to take more energy than even starting it or any other part of the process, and just to go with it and get it done. Kind of like a carrot dangling in the front of a horse and wagon. Okay, so in unity, again, according to Charles Fillmore, and I believe this to be true as well, we believe that there's an orderly process of creative activity which begins in mind and culminates in manifestation. When we interpret the first chapter of Genesis metaphysically, we can see this process at work. Now, what usually happens when we want to create something? Well, generally speaking, we look outside of us to find something like what we want and try to imitate it. In other words, if someone wants something from us, a book or a paper or an idea or a task, it isn't a bad idea to look outside of us and see who tried it before, what they came up with, and what their process was like. But for us, when we forget that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, we tend to assume that whatever we want is out here in the five sense world. But the fact is, the truth is, the greater truth is, that even though we might manifest something when we do it from the outside in, it's never gonna help us feel that sense of true accomplishment and that sense of originality and uniqueness that goes with the individual expression of our divine I am or Christ mind, unless we generate it from inside of ourselves, which is the realm of ideas, the realm of pure potential and all possibilities. Again, very often when we look to the outside world to get our inspiration and try to imitate it, very often it doesn't work because what we saw outside of us wasn't really what we wanted. It was an outer image that seemed to represent what we wanted. It was the best that the world had to offer at the time. So when we look to the seven-step creative process, the first thing we do is look within. Step 1, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So the first step in the creative process is illumination, divine illumination, illumination from within, which allows us not only to recognize and affirm God as the source of our supply, but to also look within us for the idea of what we want to manifest, the idea, the way an architect looks within to visualize a house or an office building that they're going to create. That's when the light turns on. And so when God says, "Let there be light," which is the creative process or the logos at work, we're talking about getting an idea from deep inside of us, a divine idea. Just the beginning of it, maybe not that much of it, but just a way out of our stagnation or a way out of our routine or a way to fulfill a mission that has been deep inside of us for a long time, but which we never gave permission to come forth. So, divine illumination, let there be light, helps us understand that the first day is about saying, I have an idea. I have a way to manifest my creativity or to complete this project. I have a glimmer of light. Step 2, and God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, separating the waters from the waters. And so this firmament, which is like an object, like a semi-round object that would lift the waters from the waters, and there would be waters in heaven and waters on the earth. So the second step is faith. Faith is the ability for us to see something in our minds which has not been manifested yet. And so we make an affirmation, faith, a firmament, affirming the reality of divine ideas and our divine inheritance. So what happens when we have a firm foundation? We have given those that glimmer of light. We have embraced it and said, I have something here, and I am going to see it through. The third step, and God said, let dry land appear. Now, the third step is our faculty of imagination, through which we form and shape our desired good from omnipresent substance. So, first, we have the light. I have an idea. Second, we put our faith or a firmament into that idea. And the third step is to go into meditation or creative conversation and actually visualize what that idea will look like. The imagination is called the scissors of the mind. And each of us cuts out images of what we want to manifest based on where we are in consciousness at any given moment. And so when we work with this 7-step process, we have to train our imagination to visualize only that which we desire to manifest. What does it look like? What does it feel like? You know, I'm thinking of Project Runway, which is a program that's been, very popular for a long, long time, about people who are clothing designers and people who sew professionally, and how they're given assignments with a broad-based category of what to create, and they need to do it within a really short time period. To design it, to get the material, to know what it looks like, know what it feels like, to try it on the model, to draw it, to sew it, all of that is part of a process that begins with the light. Step 4, and God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Now, after we begin to bring this idea into a concrete understanding, we're able to see it in our minds, we're able to describe it with our words, we need to understand, which is a kind of intuitive awareness, that we must become willing. Will is an intellectual awareness, to take action as we are guided. And so once we're able to form and shape this idea, we need to make the commitment that we are going to understand our relationship to that idea. What is the part that we do? What is the part that we allow the universe to work with? And are we really willing? Are we really willing to see it through. And so, as we develop our spiritual understanding, we must become willing to take the action as we are guided. The fifth step, and God said, "Let the waters bring forth abundantly every living creature and every winged fowl." Well, the fifth step is discernment. The fifth step is discernment, through which we are able to make wise and appropriate decisions concerning our demonstration process. Now, let me just say this about discernment. Another word for discernment is good judgment. A lot of people equate judgment with condemnation, so we keep changing our vocabulary to communicate more effectively. So I'm using the term discernment. To be able to tell one thing from another and to be able to understand it effectively. So at this point in the creative process, which goes along with the manifestation process of the musical scale that we just discussed, we have to realize that things are not always going to look as they appear. We might start getting tired. We might start losing our support team. We might begin to think that nothing is going to happen because everything seems to be falling apart. This is the time when we remember that this is a natural part of a creative process and we cannot take it seriously and we cannot predict our future based on some of these setbacks. So the idea is to be aware, to discern, to determine, to use good judgment, to be able to recognize a little slower vibration, and to be able to try extra hard and to work with it, to continue our meditation, to know the difference between when to act and when to release. All of that is happening just before manifestation takes place. Step 6, and God made man in his own image. Male and female created he them. The sixth step is wisdom and love, which is symbolic of the wholeness inherent in our spiritual nature. We need to become united within our own consciousness in order for our desires to be manifested. We can't, at this point, get stuck in, well, my head thinks one thing and my heart thinks something else. No, or my heart feels something else. No, this is the point at which what we call the marriage made in heaven that no one can put asunder. When that creative process unites within our consciousness and we see things from a complete and holistic perspective. Number 7, and God rested from the work, and behold, it was very good. The 7th step is the Sabbath. It's the realization and assurance that our manifestation is forthcoming. It's a recognition that what we have worked for has finally come into being, no matter how long it's taken. And we give thanks as we rest in the silence, as we complete one manifestation process before we move on to another. Take a deep breath and relax. This is the time in our service that we devote to meditation, contemplation, and integration of today's message. Let us affirm in the quiet of our own being, I am a co-creator with Spirit. I have the gift of bringing into manifestation what God has created in mind. I affirm divine light, the light of illumination and guidance. I then affirm faith in divine ideas as my divine inheritance. I activate my power of imagination, through which I form and shape my desired good from omnipresent substance. I affirm divine will and understanding. The more I understand what is mine to do, the more willing I become to do it. I affirm discernment and good judgment, through which I am able to make wise and appropriate decisions concerning my manifestation process. I then affirm wisdom and love, symbolic of the wholeness inherent within me. And finally, I rest and I experience a sense of completion, a sense of complete wholeness. And I wait in the quiet for the manifestation to take place in the manifest world. I am creative by nature, and I surrender to the process of moving from within out. And so it is. Amen. Friends, this is the time in our service where we bless our gifts and tithes that we would share with Unity of San Luis Obispo. Giving freely is one of the most powerful spiritual tools that we have to offer. Giving freely is the first part of the law of abundance, the law of reciprocity. As we give, so shall we receive. And so when we give in love, we can fully expect to receive in love. And this is what this offering is all about. Now, if this service has inspired you, if you got something out of the message and feel that you can apply it to your life, this would be a wonderful opportunity to share a portion of your tithes with Unity of San Luis Obispo. We also give thanks at Unity that a portion of our tithes goes to support work that supports human rights and a peaceable, healthy planet. So at this point, I bless you and thank you for sharing your tithes with us and knowing that the good that you desire is manifesting itself as you give. And so let's take our prosperity statement together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive.
Here is a song that a lot of people remember, but it really is from way back. I'm always chasing rainbows. The music is credited to Harry Carroll, but the melody is adapted from Fantaisie Impromptu by Frédéric Chopin. So he had the main melody idea. Again, published in 1917. After a little bit of an ethereal start, we're going to swing it a bit, eh, Matthew?
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's see how this goes. All right. 1, 2. Two. from 1917, back over 100 years ago. I'm always chasing rainbows. Just a beautiful melody, though. Fun, huh?
Yeah, man, so cool. Take something that old and put a new feel to it, you know?
Well, you know, I have a good time playing this stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Brett and Matthew, that was so inspiring. What a lovely tune, and what rich history around it. Thank you for inspiring us so beautifully. Let's sing our peace song, shall we?
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my joyful vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now let's speak the words of our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. Friends, please remember to press the like button and share your comments with us. We really enjoy hearing from you. Also, please remember to tune in to our latest episode of the Get Off Your Affirmation podcast called Owning Your Shadow, a Transformation in Consciousness. Have a wonderful week. You deserve it.
Every single person living peace in what we do. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true. Only then will our dream come true.